You didn't arrive here by chance, and before your mind tries to find a rational explanation for this, let me describe exactly what has happened in your last 3 days. A nameless restlessness, a fatigue that sleep doesn't resolve, thoughts that return on their own, uninvited, especially in those minutes before you fall asleep. A strange sensation that something is about to change, but you can't point to what. Perhaps an old memory crossed your day for no reason. Perhaps a person you haven't thought of for months appeared, whether in a dream, a conversation, or your feed. Perhaps your body is asking for silence, while your mind demands answers. If at least 2 of these things resonated, I need you to understand what I'm about to say with the utmost seriousness. The lunar eclipse of August 27th and 28th has already begun to act upon you. Not at the last minute, not on the day, now, not on. And what you will hear in the next few minutes are the 9 spiritual signs that confirm this, in the exact order in which they appear, what to do with each one, and why most people will waste this window without ever realizing it existed. Before anything else, we need to align on a truth that almost no one has the courage to say in this type of content. An eclipse is not a one-off event. An eclipse is a pressure, a field, a current that begins to organize days before the astronomical peak and continues to reverberate days after. What you call the 28th is just the visible apex of an invisible process that has already been in motion for at least a week. And it is precisely this prior phase, the phase of silent preparation, that the absolute majority of people mistake for stress, PMS, lack of coffee, a fight at home, overwork, or any other practical explanation that gives the unconscious the right to keep sleeping. There are 2 groups facing this eclipse. The first is the sleeping crowd. These people will feel everything you are feeling, every wave, every weight, every displaced emotion, but they will push it all under the rug of routine. They will reach the 28th exhausted, irritated, full of unnecessary arguments, and they will blame the day. They will say, "What a strange week," and move on. The window will close on them and they will never know a window existed. The second group is a very specific minority, people who have already trained their own nervous system to recognize that there is a massive difference between a bad day and spiritual pressure. You are here because you belong, or are about to belong, to this second group. And the only task of the next few minutes is to give you the exact map to cross this window without wasting it. The first sign is the quietest and therefore the most ignored. It appears as an emotional wave without a trigger. You are doing something mundane, washing dishes, waiting for an elevator, replying to a message, and suddenly a sadness rises, or a rage that doesn't fit the moment, or a strange urge to cry over nothing, or a contextless joy that lasts 3 seconds and vanishes. You stop, look around, search for the cause, and find nothing. And then your rational mind, trained to explain everything, starts to invent a reason. It must be because I slept poorly. It must be because I ate wrong. It must be hormonal. And you move on. But what happened there was not a chemical short circuit. It was old emotional content, stored in deep layers of your psyche, being pushed to the surface by the pressure of the ecliptic field. The eclipse does not create new emotion. It reveals old emotion. It works like a hydraulic press that squeezes the unconscious and makes everything leak through the cracks, everything you didn't have the time, courage, or willingness to look at in recent months. This is the aeration phase, and your only job here is not to react, not to judge, not to try to fix it, just to notice. This rose up, this is here, this isn't mine now, it's my old self asking for passage. The second sign walks alongside the first and confirms that you are indeed inside the field. It is the spontaneous return of the past. A specific person appears again, whether in thought, in a dream, or synchronistically in the physical world. A memory you swore you had processed resurfaces with a clarity that scares you. A smell, a song, a place transports you to an old scene without warning. And it isn't nostalgia. Nostalgia is gentle. This has weight. It has an almost magnetic quality, as if that memory were calling you toward something, and it is. Because the unconscious doesn't speak Portuguese, doesn't speak Spanish, doesn't speak any language. It speaks in images, symbols, and repetitions. When it wants to draw your attention to a matter that remained open, it lends you the past. It gives you back the scene, it reintroduces the person to you. Not so that you reconnect, go back, or revise the decision, but so that you recognize the pattern that was behind that story, and that is still active in you today, only in a different guise, in a different setting, with different characters. If someone is returning to your mind this week without you having summoned them, that someone is a messenger, and the eclipse is the mailman. And here I need to be very honest with you, because everything I just described, this emotional aeration, this return of the past, this feeling of being worked over by a pressure you don't control, all of this is the raw material. It is the mud at the bottom of the lake being stirred. If you do what 95% of people do, which is merely observe without structure, this mud will rise, cloud everything, and settle back down without anything being transformed. You will have gone through an eclipse without harvesting an eclipse, and that is why I prepared Magia M28 Exercicios, the 28 Keys to Awakening, a guided 28-day journey, an entire lunar cycle, made exactly to be the structure that sustains a process like this. It is not a theoretical course on the moon, astrology or generic spirituality. It is a practical system day after day, exercise after exercise, to recognize signs of the soul, integrate what the shadow is returning to you now, and transform that mud into real direction in your life. If you have felt at least 2 of the signs I described, the link is in the first pinned comment right below this video. And before continuing, I want one thing from you. Comment the word atravessar down below, not as a formality, as a declaration, like someone saying, I am inside this window and I will use it, not waste it. Comment and come back here, because what comes next is the most physical phase of the process. Signs 3 and 4 arrive together and form one of the most disorienting pairs of this phase. Sign 3, your body feels heavy. It isn't the common tiredness of someone who worked too hard. It is a fatigue that sleep does not repair. You wake up as if you had carried bricks all night long. A sensation of weight on your shoulders, in your legs, at the base of your neck. An urge to lie down in the middle of the afternoon that makes no sense for the routine you are having. This happens because the body is the first spiritual processing instrument you have, and it is currently digesting, literally digesting, all the emotional material that the eclipse field is pushing to the surface. Every old emotion that rises costs physical energy. Every revisited memory costs glucose, costs oxygen, costs muscle. You aren't lazy. You are working inside at such a high frequency that there is little fuel left for the outside. Sign 4 is the contrast that drives you mad. While the body begs for silence, the mind accelerates. You lie down and it races. Thoughts on loop, plans, hypothetical scenarios, conversations you didn't have, answers you should have given 3 years ago. The mind enters compulsive organization mode because it is trying to give logical meaning to content that is not logical. It wants to file, catalog, resolve. And the more it tries, the heavier the body feels. And then the person feels broken, divided, not knowing whether to rest or act. The rule of this phase is only one: obey the body, ignore the mind. The body is giving you the right information, the mind is trying to escape the sensation. Lying down is not giving up. Silencing is not procrastinating. In this moment, rest is an active tool, not a passive one. The 5th sign is what begins to give you direction. It is when a single theme begins to repeat, repeating in different ways, in totally disconnected contexts, but always coming back. You open a social network, and a random video talks about relationships. A friend calls you and her vent is about relationships. You open a book that had been sitting idle for months, and the page it opens to deals with relationships. You have a dream where someone asks you about relationships. The subject changes, the format changes, but the core is the same. This is not a coincidence. This is the field pointing its finger inside of you. When something repeats 3, 4, 5 times in scenarios that do not communicate with each other, it is because the unconscious is using the external world as a mirror to force you to look inward. The theme that repeats this week is the theme of your eclipse. It is the specific area of your life where the energy of the window is being directed. It could be money, body, mother, father, work, purpose, sexuality, silence, exposure, scarcity, control, anything. But it will always be just one theme, and it will become impossible to ignore if you pay attention. And the sixth sign is how you confirm it. Once the theme is identified, do this. Think about it out loud, or write it down, and observe the body. If the body contracts, chest tightens, a knot forms in the throat, hands go cold, this theme has unresolved weight. It has material to be worked on. If the body relaxes, breathes deeper, shoulders drop, it is a sign that this theme is asking for release, closure, a step forward. The body does not lie. The mind tells stories. In this phase of the eclipse, the body becomes the most reliable compass you have. Treat it as an oracle, not as a vehicle. The seventh sign amplifies everything. It is the sudden increase in energetic sensitivity to other people. You enter a room and feel the atmosphere before anyone says anything. You stay on the phone with someone for 3 minutes and hang up drained, without knowing why. You pass near a stranger and feel the urge to move away. Or the opposite. You meet someone you barely know and feel a strange peace. This happens because the pressure of the eclipse thins your receptors. It's as if the internal volume of the world were turned up. Others' energetic fields become more palpable, unspoken intentions become more visible, social disguises become more transparent. And if you aren't prepared, this turns into overload. It turns into that feeling of, I don't want to see anyone, I don't want to talk to anyone, I want to disappear. It isn't depression. It is sensory saturation. It is your system asking you to reduce stimuli because it is already processing too much information internally and has no bandwidth to absorb the fields of others. This is the week to reduce unnecessary contacts, to go out less, to turn off notifications, to choose very carefully whom you talk to, not out of selfishness but for preservation. The eighth sign operates while you sleep. Dreams become intense, vivid, almost cinematic. You wake up with the feeling of having lived 3 days in one night. Strange symbols appear. Water, old houses, specific animals, stairs, symbolic deaths, journeys. People from the past return in dreams with clear speech, or you wake up at unusual times, 3 a.m., 4:11 a.m., always with a weight on your conscience. Sleep during an eclipse stops being just rest and becomes a processing portal. The unconscious takes advantage of the phase when the rational mind is turned off to do the heavy lifting. Write down your dreams as soon as you wake up, even the fragments, because there lie encrypted instructions for what needs to be seen. The ninth sign is the most important and the most misinterpreted. It is a specific, almost physical urge to end something, to let go, to leave, to cut, a relationship that no longer makes sense, a job that became a weight, a habit that consumes you, a friendship that only drains, a role you have been playing for too long. The urge rises with an uncommon clarity, almost cold, and is accompanied by a strange sense of calm, as if something inside you had already decided before your mind knew. Be careful here, and be seriously careful, because there is an absolute difference between the impulse of the eclipse and impulsive flight. Impulsive flight is charged with anger, urgency, with, I want to blow everything up now. The true release of the eclipse comes with silence, with recognition, with that specific feeling of, this ended a while ago, I just needed to admit it. If the urge to end it came with calm, with relief, with clarity, it is real. If it came with adrenaline, with revenge, with haste, it is just the mud rising, and you should not make any irreversible decisions this week. This distinction alone is worth gold. But it only works if you have an organized internal space to do this reading without deceiving yourself. And here is the point that separates those who cross through this way from those who simply suffer the eclipse. Recognizing the 9 signs is only the beginning. The real work is integrating them before the window closes. This is exactly the kind of process that Magia M28 Exercicios was built to sustain, day by day, during the entire lunar cycle that opens now. The link remains in the first pinned comment. If you felt that this window is yours, don't leave the decision for later. Later is too late. Later, the wave has passed. Now I need you to look at the 9 signs in another way. Not as items on a list, but as a single movement in 3 phases. The first phase, of signs 1 and 2, is the aeration phase. The material rises. Old emotion, old memory, old people. It is the unconscious coming to the surface. The second phase of signs 3, 4, 5, and 6 is the localization phase. The body feels heavy, the mind accelerates, a theme repeats, the body reacts. Here you discover exactly where the eclipse is working in your life. It gives you the address. The third phase of signs 7, 8, and 9 is the direction phase. Sensitivity increases, dreams reveal, the impulse to end points to where the energy wants to go. Review. First the what, then the where, then the where to. It is an intelligent sequence, not random chaos. Imagine a mirror placed over a surface of agitated water. While the water moves, you only see fragments of your image, a piece of an eye, a piece of a mouth, something that looks like your face but isn't clear. This is what is happening now between today and the 28th. The water is still moving. The fragments are these 9 signs. And at the peak of the eclipse, when the water settles for a few moments, the whole image appears. You see what you needed to see. But if you haven't trained your eye to recognize the fragments, when the whole image emerges, you won't know it was there and you will let it pass. It is exactly this preparation, day after day, sign after sign, integration after integration, that separates those who harvest the eclipse from those who just endure the eclipse. And it is exactly this preparation that Magia M28 Exercicios, the 28 Keys to Awakening, delivers. 28 days, a full lunar cycle, each exercise designed to transform your restlessness into language, your shadow into clarity, the signs into decisions, and consciousness into practical direction. If you recognized at least 3 of the 9 signs I described today, this is your confirmation that the window is yours. Access is in the first pinned comment. Don't leave it for tomorrow. The window doesn't wait for a postponed decision. The practical work of the coming week is simple, and at the same time the most important thing you can do. Take a notebook, a notepad, anything, and make 3 columns. In the first, write down which of the 9 signs you recognized in yourself this week. Don't make them up. Write down only the real ones. In the second column, write down what theme began to repeat in your life, the subject that returned in various ways, from various sources, how many times, and how. In the third column, note how your body reacted when you thought about that theme. Contraction or relief, tightness or expansion, cold or heat. This record is your snapshot before the peak. On the 28th, you will go back to it and compare it with what you feel, and that is when the reading will happen with a clarity that isn't possible to have today. And if you just realized you aren't subscribed to the channel, understand one thing. Every video that goes up here is a specific coordinate within the map of this cycle. The next one goes up tomorrow, the 27th, and it completely shifts the focus. It stops being about recognizing signs and becomes about something much more delicate, which almost no one knows how to do at the right moment, how to preserve in silence that which has begun to emerge so as not to lose everything the week has stirred up. If you aren't subscribed, you will receive loose pieces without context, and you will miss the exact sequence that makes this map work. Turn on the bell, leave the notifications on, and before closing this tab, comment down below the number of the sign that hit you hardest today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. Just the number. No justification. This comment is an energetic marker. It fixes within you the exact point where the eclipse window found you first. And it will serve as a reference when you come back here after the 28th. What you just heard was the preparation, the revelation of how to preserve all of this in silence and what to do in the exact 48 hours surrounding the peak of the eclipse is in the video appearing now on the screen. To the side. Click on it. The first 60 seconds will reorganize your timeline for this week. The window has already begun. You only decide now whether you cross it sleeping or awake.